are pastoral ministry majors who are studying to be pastors, and you're a young pastor who's doing great ministry. What is a word of advice, encouragement that you have to people like us, young Christian leaders who are seeking to lead the church in the future?
Oh man, I don't know. You mentioned I'm a young pastor, and I am. I'm in over my head. I don't know what I'm doing, man. So I feel very inadequate to answer that question. Here are just a couple thoughts off the top of my head. How I view pastoral ministry, what I love about being a pastor is I view it as shepherding the people of God on the mission of God. And so if I could just kind of break that up, like shepherding people, this is what we do. And this has been a real, well, blessing and challenge for me. I love this people called the Church of Brook Hills far more than I could have imagined loving them 7 years ago when I went there. And so to really care for the people God's entrusted you to lead, to love them, not just love preaching to them or love doing ministry as bad, but to love these people and to love them well, because we have a shepherd who loves us well. And now I want to love them, shepherd them on mission, so to keep focus. So we're tempted at every turn in the church to not do the one thing Jesus told us to do in the Great Commission, like make disciples of all nations. There's so much good stuff in the church that can crowd out the best thing in the church. And so it's a constant fight pastorally to say, let's keep our focus on making disciples of all nations. And so we just spent the last month in January walking through our one sentence that sums up who we are as a church. We glorify God by making disciples of all nations. What does that look like? How do we keep our focus there? And just because otherwise, well, the adversary just wants to distract us from that. And so there's got to be a constant push toward that. And especially when there's 6,000 plus people groups who are unreached with the gospel, like this cannot be acceptable for us as pastors. This is George Pentecost, I think, is the one who said, to the pastor belongs the privilege and responsibility of the missionary problem. And this is not a problem for others. The pastors in local churches where the gospel is have the responsibility to shepherd those people to take the gospel where it's not. And so this is what we got to own this, under the sovereignty of God, of course, but to own this. But in the process of now put them together, we shepherd people in the mission of God. So I have this tough tension that I wrestle with as a pastor. On one hand, there's the urgency of the mission. On the other hand, there's patience in shepherding people on the mission. I can't just pick them up and throw them around the world. I've got to shepherd them. And whenever I get impatient, which I sometimes do because I'm pushing on mission, I'm just reminded, it's just pride in my life because the Lord has been patient with me. And so to be patient in shepherding people. And it's wonderful to see, even in the church that I pastor, people who 6 years ago, I was preaching some of the same things, and they were thinking, I don't know if I'm in on this. And 6 years later, I mean, they're doing things here and around the world for God's glory that they never could have imagined. There's a process there, and just like it's been a process in my own life. And so, I don't know, that was jumbled thoughts, but shepherd people well for the sake of the advancement, I would say, accomplishment of the Great Commission.
That's good. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. And David Platt's new book, Follow Me, is available anywhere books are sold. It's from Tyndale House Publishers. Thank you so much for
Yeah.